Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's Mary Luehrsen. I'm coming to you live from the NAMM show here in Anaheim, California. And we are here at our Talking Get Music Education studio here at the NAMM show. So thank you for joining us here at EnterTalk Radio. Please let anyone and everyone know that we're live on Facebook at EnterTalk Radio. And I'm delighted to welcome Hunter Hayes,
Good morning.
who is a not even an emerging singer-songwriter performer, but an established singer-songwriter performer.
I feel more like an American.
Well, I don't know. I saw quite a few record sale numbers out there, so
Yeah, there's a few.
yeah,
There's a few,
yeah.
but
But welcome,
thank
first
you.
time ever at the NAMM show. Welcome to the
Yeah,
NAMM show. It's
thank
great.
you. I appreciate it.
With all of our artists that we chat with, because our theme is talking about music education and the value of it in people's lives and where they first learn music and their journey to become a musician. We talk about the origin story.
Hmm.
How did you start learning music, and was it available to you in school, and did you have teachers that really influenced you along the way? Love to hear about that.
For me, it's kind of an off the beaten path discovery story. It wasn't like I grew up in church. I didn't really have a great music education background, which is I think why I believe in it so much. It's that thing that you didn't have growing up that you want everybody else in the world to have. Mostly because my path to music was very sort of like I kind of had to find it on my own. My parents weren't musical, and my family wasn't musical, and so finding music was very much something that I was kind of just like independent and sort of alone in. And I think that's why anytime the words music education comes up, I'm pretty passionate about it because it for me it's as much about finding oneself
Mm,
as it is about
beautiful.
learning
Hmm.
music. So,
So,
but yeah, I grew up in a very musically rich culture. Like in Louisiana, we're very passionate about history, heritage, and there's a very traditional music um,
that's a big time. It's kind of in the
foundation.
in the water
It's
there.
definitely in
Yeah.
the water. There's
Yeah.
everything from Cajun to like there's a huge blues presence and all kinds of stuff down there that just doesn't. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff down there that doesn't really exist anywhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
special.
it's
Yeah,
this little hidden
and
pocket of the
there's a
world.
sound too.
Yeah, there's
Right.
definitely a sound. So, and the best part about it is, when I started getting interested, you could go anywhere and see a live band, a restaurant, or we have, we don't really need an excuse to have a festival outside in Louisiana. We just
So
have a
where in
festival every
Louisiana
day.
did you grow up?
I grew up in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, so just
Ne-
outside of Lafayette,
Okay.
and so it's super far south, and there is a festival every day for something. So I played outside at fairs and festivals my
It's
whole
all
life.
about food. It's all
It's
about
all about
music.
food at
It's
the end
all
of the
hanging
day.
out, right?
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about it was growing up around going to see these bands. My family, which I got a toy accordion when I was 2. My grandmother noticed
Uh,
that I was taking things around the house and making them into instruments. So she was like, "Well, I'm going to start him on accordion." So I got a toy accordion.
accordion.
I started apparently I don't remember this at all. This is just what I've heard my parents say, and this is the most consistent information I can gather up. But I started kind of like learning things by ear and playing them. So there was like 2 or 3 songs. I was standing side stage at this guy's performance, and he pointed at me and asked my dad. He was like, "This, would he want to come up and play?" And my dad was like, "Yeah, he knows this song, and this song." And so I went up and I played and I sang and I just fell in love with that feeling, being on stage, being there, and I started sitting in with that band more regularly, going on the road with
This is
that
kind of
band.
in hometown, right? Hometown territory.
Ish,
Right.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we would travel to Texas, we'd travel to like, all around,
But
but
the band was hometown, right?
yeah,
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 right.
for sure.
So you kind of bumped into an informal music education.
Exactly.
There
Yeah.
was no like every third grader gets to play an instrument, and
Yeah.
they're kind of we're going to have music. You're going to learn how to read music. That just kind of wasn't available then.
Yeah, well, not where I went to school. It wasn't really a
Yeah.
thing. It was
Right.
all about sports. So it was a different environment growing up, and I had to kind of find it on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but obviously it was in you, right? It's something that
Yeah, which
yeah.
really catches me off guard because I mean, just this last Christmas, my uncle actually gave me. I'm into timepieces. I like watches. He gave me a timepiece that belonged to my great grandfather, who apparently played an instrument and was very
Aha.
passionate about playing accordion. But you have to go that far back to find anyone who's remotely interested in music.
Hmm.
So I get my guess is it's just been kind of like it's been pin up for multiple generations, and it's
Right.
just kind of like I don't know.
So did the was the accordion the kind that's used in the Cajun.
Mhm.
Oh, that is so cool. Do you still play it?
Diatonic melodeon.
Oh, that is awesome.
Well,
Yeah. Did you
s
bring one? No.
I,
I
to
mean,
be
I think that is that's a sound.
I haven't
That's
played it in
right.
10 years.
Maybe you
I
should
haven't touched it.
maybe you should pull that out. Part of
Yeah.
your heritage story, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's beautiful to have it as part of my story. Um, but, uh, but
Who
yeah.
knows? Who knows where it's going to fit
Yeah,
in
you never
as you
know.
keep creating.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then a morph to guitar at some point,
yeah.
right? You're a great guitar
Well, I
player,
think
right?
watching all the stuff I was into, everybody was playing guitar. It was like a cool thing, and I wanted to be like them, watching like
Mhm.
Garth Brooks and
Mhm.
Brooks and Dunn, and watching like Brian White and people like that. So, I wanted to play guitar, and I got my first guitar when I was 6, and I never put it down. That became kind of my
Rest
home
is
base, you know.
rest is history, quote unquote, right?
Sure,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it's just finding. Yeah, it went from that to like it went from wanting to learn how to play it to wanting to kind of find a voice. And there was one guy um, named Turtle, and I've mentioned him in enough interviews by now. I hope he knows how much of an influence he was on me, but I don't think up until probably a year ago he probably had no idea. But he played a Strat through a PV Classic 50 or Classic 30, and just had this really cool, clean, but kind of just this awesome like I don't know how to describe it. Awesome like compressed distortion tone, and I was obsessed with that thing, and still to this day I chase that sound.
Mm,
Because out of all the guitar players that I've studied, like he had my favorite sound thing.
mm.
Yeah,
Great. So what I'm hearing is that something really gelled in you and moved you forward pretty early in life.
yeah.
So how'd you get through high school?
Well, the only way I got through high
What
school
was
was
high school like with someone
lonely.
with all this energy, right?
Yeah, well, lonely.
Yeah.
Well, my friends weren't at school. I had a few friends at school, but I connected most with the people that I ended up playing music with on the weekend, who
Yeah.
inevitably were like probably twice my age or
So
whatever.
you got through high school, music was sustaining you. I mean, you had to do that, right? You had to do the
Yeah,
high
I mean
school
that's how
thing.
I found songwriting. Was
Yeah.
kind of going through the first like really emotional stages of your life where you're starting to feel things you've never felt, and whether that's good or pain. And um, that's where I discovered songwriting. You
Yeah.
know, I had to figure out a way to kind of it had to be more than a journal. Somebody had to hear it.
Right. Well, we hope in our work at the NAMM Foundation that every school if you went back to high school, there would be at least an acknowledgement of this creative process, and that
Yeah,
there was a place for you. Maybe there was a club or a gathering or a teacher or a technology program that would, and we're finding that more and more,
yeah,
because that energy of what you bring into the world and what you had early just needs to be recognized,
yeah. Well, I think
right?
there's so many young
And I
people
still bet there's a big group that thinks you were the coolest kid in school.
disagree.
Well, I don't know. You just
You're so kind to
maybe
say
you
that.
just didn't find one another,
That's
but
such a very kind
I
approach to that.
I would like you to go back and think about that, because I think that we're learning now more about, the world, and people who are quiet and introspective and are creating something that everyone really admires, that because everyone is a piece of that,
Well, I think I
you
mean, if
know.
anything, um, there's a portion of finding music that forces you to kind of be vulnerable to yourself,
Mhm.
to kind of be true to oneself. And I do think that, I mean, the one thing that I was grateful for is that I found it so young. I didn't have to wake up one day in high school and say, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I knew, even though I had no idea how I was going to make money on it, but that in that in of itself is part of the biggest part of the story, is that was never really a thought. It was just kind of it was a vision, and you just go, you move.
Yeah.
That's the mission. There's no like, this is how it works, or how is it going to work, or fear based. Because if it was fear based, I mean, if I had found it at high school, I'd have given myself every reason not to do it. Same with middle school. I'm grateful that I found it in elementary school, or like even younger, because at that point it was so ingrained in me. There was nothing that could take it away
Yeah. As a former teacher, you must know I'm a former teacher the way I'm talking to you,
from
right? Right.
me.
But as a former teacher who found the greatest happiness teaching in elementary school at the end of my teaching time, I believe every child has that.
Yeah,
And it just gets kind of rubbed out of them
yeah,
by junior high, senior high.
yeah,
And again, I really think that over time that there's been more of an acknowledgement, and I always tease folks, nerd is really in now. Nerd
I
is
think it's
really in.
always been in.
I think it's always been in, and I think your sense of isolation as you were developing I think now that's being acknowledged more.
Yeah.
Is that this individuality is just it's kind of the basics.
Yeah, out of
This
fear, I
crowd stuff, putting everybody into the same, everybody should doing this and this and this,
yeah.
and I'm in and I'm not. I think that's the next. We need to write a song about
Well,
that,
we were actually
right?
talking about this last night. My buddy and I went to a movie, and we got out, and I was like, I have this giant list of movies that I have to see. Not just like the big superhero movies, the franchise movies, the things that everybody's talking about. I'm talking like artistic works of
and
absolute
and
beauty.
there's loner movies too that are very cool
And
that deal with the same themes.
and I feel like we've got more of that lately. But
Mhm.
my only fear is that I don't want being a nerd to become a trend.
No,
I
I
want it
think
to be
it's deeper than
timeless
that.
thing. I hope it
I
is.
think it's deeper than that. I think that, you know, so, and I know that isolation that maybe was part of your development creatively. I think that there's and I think this is the plus of technology. Everybody gets to
Mm,
be themselves,
yeah, true, very much.
right?
I
Or if you don't want to be yourselves, you get to be whatever avatar you decide you want to be.
agree.
And that has all sorts of sides
That's a
to it
whole
too,
other
right?
conversation.
But that authenticity is
Yeah.
kind of the currency now.
Ooh, authenticity as a currency. Who was I just reading that said that? And I
I
highlighted it.
think that's kind of
You
the
know what I'm talking
risk.
about? There was
Yeah,
a
I know of, it's I don't know the book, but I
yeah,
also know that that's, the trending.
yeah,
There's some because we've had this mishmash of what avatar am I today,
yeah,
right? Versus, well, I'm going to take some risks with
yeah.
my
I
art,
think my only
with
prayer
my
is that it's
voice,
not
my
a trend. Sorry, I didn't make it you
That's all right.
off. It's a songwriter. As soon as you think of it, you say it before it leaves you.
That's all right.
But I think, yeah, I just hope it's not a trend because trends tend to be cool regardless of whether people understand it or not. And I think understanding,
I don't think this could survive a trend.
yeah, I
I
think
think it might be a trend, but it'll be identified really quickly as not being authentic.
I hope so. I hope the understanding is there. But yeah, I do think it's beautiful that
Yeah.
the individuality thing has really been kind of shown a beautiful spotlight this last
Yeah.
year. We've seen it in the movies, we've seen it in so many different ways, and that true transparency has been kind
So
of lifted up.
so you're on I would call it kind of a roll right now, right? You're putting out a lot of stuff, right?
We're doing a lot of
And it
things.
feels right.
Yeah,
It feels right. It's authentic, right? I
yeah,
mean, you're doing it because you're generating it. So, just a brief question about the creative process. I mean,
gladly.
do you walk around with a notebook? Do you have, I love that 8 Mile movie with Eminem sitting on all the
Yeah,
buses, writing,
it's
writing.
so
That
inspiring
you
to
can see
see.
you get a glimpse into the process
Yeah,
because then we see the guy on the stage and he goes, well, I want to do that, but I don't want to be that reflective every minute of every day.
yeah.
That's just too much darn reflectiveness. But the process that where you've generated a lot. You're a young artist, truly.
I
You're
feel like I haven't said half the things
yeah, so what's how does that push out? How are
that I want to say. Well,
you getting?
I've kind of struggled with it because when I first moved to town, there was no agenda, nobody was watching, so I could kind of say anything I want, and that's how we ended up with the debut record. Past that, um, I can't blame it on anybody. I can't blame it on the business. I can't blame it on pressure. It was all on me. I thought, well, why would anybody want to hear that? And if immediately this filter became more powerful than
Mm.
creative, and I've been working since then, basically. And without knowing it, but it was an issue without me knowing it. I was trying to work past it, and then I finally had to just identify it as an issue and say, okay, this is a flaw. This is something that I've built it myself, and I have to undo it. Um, and so I've worked really hard over the last, like, I guess, year, but specifically the last 6 months to really like tear it away.
Mm.
And I feel like even starting this year, I kind of started from a really scary place. Like, absolutely no, like the one place I was most scared to go, and it's reaped the best sort of results. Yeah. So, as scary as it is, and I used to, and I definitely, I type in a title anytime something comes up. The one thing I didn't do was, when a musical thing would happen, whatever, when I had imagined a musical thing, I wouldn't record it like I do now,
Ah,
even a month ago.
made a
Um,
shift.
yeah, there was some sort of shift that happened that, forced me to kind of go, no, you splatter paint whenever you want to, whenever you feel like, whenever it's there, because it's never going to be a full complete thought. But this year actually was the first time that I wrote a song by myself in 5 years. and only because I had not allowed myself to, not because it wasn't there. So for me, yeah, I do. I capture whenever I can. I've got a long list of titles that in a random conversation, I'll just, if you see me pull out my phone, I'm not texting anybody or on Facebook. I'm legitimately kind of like ironing out this thought process and trying to chase
Thanks for sharing that because that's important.
it.
I think we see the product, right? We
Yeah,
see the product, which is the results of hours and hours and hours of
it's the highlight
editing and
reel.
editing and but the person that is actually creating,
Mm,
right? And I know a few professional writers who, you talked about you found music, well, it kind of found you, right?
yeah,
It found you, and they talk about their writing, and you can't believe what their output is. I mean, they are just they write weekly, they write for national publications, they're writing books. You just can't, how does that happen? And that same kind of question about they write every day. It's
yeah,
like it's a piece of every day.
yeah,
So then it becomes part of us, addressing the blockage, addressing the things that, and then saying, I'm going to put myself into this discipline, a little bit of a discipline mode, so energy has room to flow, right?
yeah. Amen.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely have met one of the most inspiring writers in the last like month. That works through that at the best that I've ever seen. And I've kind of that's really inspired me to kind of push myself and be
right.
open a little bit more open because I do give myself more reasons not to than I do to try it
So you're
to say it.
working on that.
Yeah, oh for sure, it's
You'll
an
come
ongoing
back in a
process.
year and we'll do another podcast,
I
and
think you'll hear it on the album. You'll
okay.
hear it. You'll hear the you'll definitely hear the ebb and the flow. Like um you'll hear one side and you'll hear the other side. You'll know the
Wow. Well, I can't wait now. That's
difference for
wonderful. Okay.
sure.
All right. So you had a wonderful quote that I read is that you just love being on the stage with musicians.
Mm,
Is that still true? It started out when you that little Cajun
yeah.
accordion you found a home. Is it just the best to do live music? Get all
Yeah.
tuned up and just hang with a crowd that's somewhat familiar and just have that moment.
Yeah, because I always say at the end of the day, like when somebody makes me choose, do you want to be a writer or an artist? Well, as an artist, I can always ghost the writing part. I can always pretend that it's not me, and there's a loophole there because even in live performance, if I'm jamming, if I'm just like playing something brand new, if we're fresh out of the arrangement, we've gone into the unknown, I can still create there.
Hmm.
And that is ironically, even though it's the most unsafe place in the world because it's going to end up on YouTube, whether it's good or bad, it's still this what I consider my safest place. Maybe not my safest place, but the place I'm more yeah
Happy,
most comfortable.
happy, happy,
Definitely happiest.
happy. Happy
Um,
counts. Happy counts big
and I
time.
think there's something inside me where even though I try to filter myself, whether it's in interviews or in the writing process or just talking to somebody, there is something about on stage where you can't really filter yourself that much because people just walk away. People know that you're not there.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing I love the most about the live performance. It's the jumping in, it's the diving into it.
You weren't too filtered in this interview, though, were you?
I've been working on it. I've been
Yeah,
working. I don't think I've
yeah.
ever been entirely filtered. There's definitely moments that I
And
find
that's
myself running
and
away
I
from certain
think,
things.
but I think that's also personal integrity. There's certain things we share and things we
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
But I hope you share what's next. So you said you get this album. When's this album coming out?
Can't say yet. I
It's
can't say
it.
yet just because you would think with 150 songs written for it, it would be done.
Mm.
But after writing the first three songs of this year, I realized that I've barely scratched the surface. And there's a well that's been opened now; it's flowing. so
So you're
I'm
working on it.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna let myself keep writing because I do
Hmm.
feel like there's something I haven't said yet that's very in, important to the entirety of the project. But a lot of it has been written, and um, I'm yeah I'm dying to get it out.
Oh, cool.
so
And touring? Are you touring and gigging
God, I hope so.
tons?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't look in my world, like in my mind, I can't look past like even next week. I
Okay.
have no idea. I know what I'm doing Monday just because I answered an email this morning, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of have to live that way.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'll think too much.
Yeah.
You know, worry about the future. You start
Right.
planning. Planning is different from dreaming. Very different.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, it's always so inspiring to talk to an artist on the edge. It's great. It's really, really
yeah,
great. So, and you live in Nashville,
I do. Yeah,
right?
10 years now.
Yeah. Well, NAMM show will be in Nashville in June, and we should catch up in June.
I would love that. That would be a
Okay.
great before and
Yeah.
after.
Yeah. Really, just stay connected to your work and your career and your creative process, knowing that our community at NAMM is really inspired and interested in what you do. So.
Mm.
And Nashville has come a long way with their music education program, and to make sure you're
Hmm.
connected to that community, and they have singing songwriting in the schools. Were you aware of
Yes,
that?
I am. I actually
Yeah.
just got to work with a really cool Nashville School of the Arts. It was inspiring because walking through there the first time, we got to be a part of a renovation in their like, kind of studio slash music creative space. Um, 'Cause that's something that I feel really passionate about. Because the studio is my like ultimate safe place. I can mess up as many times as I need to figure it out. And we got to be a small part of a renovation there. And walking through the school the first time on the sort of before the pre um, was really inspiring because the only thing I kept thinking was, I just so wish I had this in high school.
And that's exactly why we're working
And
together.
that's why you're here.
That's exactly
That's why
what,
we need you.
because you think if this pathway was just an experience for people, they don't
Hmm.
have to go on it and
Yep.
become a Grammy nominated artist, right? They don't, I mean, as they don't, they, that's maybe an option, but just the experience of knowing that that process can be unfolded for people,
Absolutely.
young
Yeah.
people can have,
There's
yeah.
no one road for anybody who discovers music. And that's the beautiful thing. And I think that's the message we need to drive home the most.
Yeah. Well, here you are, at your first NAMM show. No doubt not your last.
Oh
We
no.
hope you would be
Can't
with
be.
us.
No way.
We won't keep you another minute from going over and exploring that over almost
You probably
600,000
should.
square, right?
You probably should.
um, so we thank so much Hunter Hayes for joining us. You want to mention us where they can find you and experience your music, and
Yeah,
so we
absolutely.
know.
Well, we're everywhere you can find music. We've got some stuff that came out a couple weeks ago. A song called "This Girl," part of a trilogy. Anyway, um,
There's some very good
but
YouTubes
we're
too.
there's a couple videos. Yeah, we're about to wrap it up too in the
Right.
next couple weeks. But the pictures trilogy is kind of everywhere. It's on YouTube. The videos are on two of the videos are on YouTube. All three songs are everywhere: Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music,
Name
and
the songs. Name the
so
songs.
the three songs. It started last year. It's "You Should Be Loved," "Love You More," or "More," because there was love in every title, and I was like, well, nobody's gonna want to listen to that. But "You Should Be Loved," "More," and "This Girl" are kind of just the kind of the what's the thing in the I don't read a lot of books. The thing in the book before you actually start
Oh,
the
the
book.
prelude.
Yeah, that it's kind of like that,
Yeah. That's in music, actually.
if
The
you will.
prelude is the
Yeah.
opening before the first act.
Well, then how appropriate is
We'll
it that
call it
we
the
call it that?
prelude.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Yeah. Well, keep on keeping on. Come on.
Thank you.
The
Appreciate
world
that.
needs your music.
That's very kind of you to say that. I
The world
appreciate that.
needs your energy and your openness. And let's stay connected.
Sounds
All
great.
right. So thank Hunter Hayes so much for being with us. My cool factor just went way up. Spending a half hour with him, and thank you so much for joining us on Talking Up Music Education, a podcast of the NAMM Foundation.